This is AOC's new AG275QX, a 27-inch 1440p 170Hz IPS gaming monitor with a standard LED backlight. It's quoted as both FreeSync Premium and G-Sync compatible, DisplayHDR 400 rated, and even boasts a 1 millisecond grey-to-grey response time. It comes equipped with two DisplayPort 1.4 ports and two HDMI 2.0 ports, meaning it's limited to just 144Hz over HDMI. The adaptive sync range is the standard 48 to 144 on HDMI or 170 for DisplayPort, and you'll also find a 4-port USB 3 hub on the back, complete with the yellow charging port. As for the stand, that's pretty standard, pun intended. It is a tri-leg design that doesn't take much space up of your desk and is relatively stable. It's also as adjustable as you would expect, using all of the usual axes, including rotation if you want to put this thing into portrait mode. You'll also find the joystick style switch on the back for the Osd Control. The menu is well laid out with almost all of the options that you'll actually want to tinker with under the gaming tab. Here you'll find the game modes, which I would personally leave off, and more importantly, the overdrive modes. And that brings us nicely onto the response time results. AOC claims quite prominently that this is a 1 millisecond grey-to-grey monitor. And sure, you can make this change colours in 1 millisecond. But calling this a 1 millisecond monitor is like saying that your car can stop in an instant because you drove it into a brick wall. On the strong overdrive mode, you end up with more overshoots than actual picture. Seriously, the panel takes over 2 frames to come to rest with how much overshoot this mode pushes out, and it's just not an enjoyable experience to even view this in real time, let alone in high-speed footage or with, fancy sensors. But happily, the medium mode is much, much better. It averages at more like 5 or 6 milliseconds, depending on how you want to measure it, but that is considerably better than the horror show that the strong mode offers. It's actually one of the most consistent panels that I've tested at this sort of speed, and is definitely a good experience while playing. It does have a touch of overshoot in a couple of the transitions, but to the eye they're pretty hard to notice. I would call it good enough for sure. And of course, these measurements were all taken with the new OSRTT Pro unit I'll soon have available on osrtt.com. Make sure you drop your email in the mailing list to be notified when that's available, which hopefully is very soon. As for input lag, AOC seems to have improved their scaler boards for this model, as my time sleuth reported just 1.8 milliseconds of on-display latency. That's hardly the lowest that I've ever seen, but it is considerably less than all of their previous 1440p models that I've tested, which ran at more like 5 to 10 milliseconds instead. Nvidia's LDAT also backs that up with a very respectable 19 milliseconds of total system latency in CSGO, which is a pretty low result from my testing. Brightness is one of the areas where the AG275QX doesn't exactly excel. AOC claims this has a peak brightness of 400 nits, but the highest I could measure was only a hair over 200. Maybe in its HDR mode on like a single pixel you might be able to hit that, but for standard SDR content, you're going to be stuck with half the advertised brightness. I would say though, for normal use, especially at sort of nighttime gaming like we all tend to do anyway, 200 nits is plenty fine. In fact, I would actually turn it down for a dark room environment. Sure, this isn't your next Pro HDR gaming display, but for standard content and colours, well, this is perfectly fine, although of course could be better. But speaking of colours though, that's actually a pretty standout point here. Make sure you don't enable any of the game modes in the game tab because they just oversaturate the colours to a worrying degree, but the standard off mode that it comes in by default not only covers over 90% of the DCI-P3 spectrum, but does so with pretty great accuracy. It sat at just over a delta E of 1, which is well below the human eye threshold of 2, making this a great out-of-the-box experience. I would say this is a pretty good option for content creation, on the side as well, if that's something you're interested in. As for content consumption, well, I had a pretty good time with it as well. Well, in the studio lighting environment, the bright lights made me wish for a brighter display. In standard usage, without the bright panel lights on, I had no problems with it. It's obviously nice and crisp, as you would expect a 27-inch 1440p display to be, while still being vibrant and colour accurate. Everything from nature documentaries to gameplay clips looked great, so no real complaints there. Obviously, if you were after a great HDR viewing experience, I'm afraid you'll have to look elsewhere. Of course, this is a gaming monitor, so how does it fare for gaming? In short, pretty well. While it isn't the fastest panel in the world, both in refresh rates and in response times, it's more than good enough for a casual gamer looking to sit down and enjoy any number of game genres with it. It's smooth enough, and in the medium overdrive mode, I would say that it's fast and sharp enough for even fairly fast-paced games. I wouldn't say that it should be your next, pro esports display, but if you're a normie like me and want to fire up a game like CSGO or Warzone or something like that, I don't think this would be too bad of a shout. So, what do I think of this? Well, for the price tag, which is remarkably low for AOC's AGON line of monitors, I would say this isn't a bad shout. My normal go-to recommendation at this sort of class, Gigabyte's M27Q, is currently either out of stock or the price is way too jacked up, so compared to its currently available price rivals, well, I'd be pretty happy with this. Sure, the brightness isn't quite as bright as you'd like it, but IRL you'll struggle to need much more than this offers, and sure, this isn't a 1 millisecond response time monitor, but 5 or 6 milliseconds is perfectly adequate, especially at this kind of price tag. I also have to give AOC a bit of extra credit, as they've redesigned their packaging to eliminate almost all of the plastic bags and unrecyclable foam, instead opting for cardboard cartons and impact protection. If they can replicate this to all of their monitors' packaging, this is an excellent step forward in reducing the amount of wasted plastic cluttering the world and our bodies, so great job there, and other companies, please take notes. So, should you buy one? Well, if you can find a Gigabyte M27Q, especially the new Dash X model, which runs at 240Hz instead, I would say grab that one. If not, this is one of the most featured and best performing panels that I've tested at this price point, so sure, why not? If you are interested in taking a look at this one, or maybe picking it up yourself, I'll leave a global Amazon affiliate link in the description down below for you to check out, where you can see pricing when and where you watch this, because it can and does vary. You can also check out a load of other links in the description if you want to support the channel, keep me making videos like these, and tools like the open source response time tool, and also there'll be a link to that in the description as well. Also, if you want to see more videos like this one, including a load of CPU reviews that are coming up very shortly, then check out the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon so you don't miss them. There'll of course be plenty of other monitor videos as well, and you can also check out some of the existing monitor videos on the end cards if you fancy, and yeah, otherwise that's kind of it. I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about the AG275QX? Is it a monitor you pick up yourself, or would you go with something like Gigabyte's M27Q instead? Feel free to let me know in those comments down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, we'll see you on the next video.